Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back in to talk about maybe a little bit of an abstract idea for all healers in general and in terms of how you are becoming a better healer. All right, one of the biggest things you can do is positioning. Positioning is such a huge component of being a proper healer, and it is such a huge component of improving your healing. You know, I see so many times where there are players, when I look at log reviews, usually I'm looking at log reviews on the weekends and stuff like that on stream. Link is going to be below. Where I'm looking at so many times where they're making the right moves. They're using their prayer of mendings as often as possible. They're using this button on cooldown. They're doing this properly, but there's something missing. And you see it frequently where they're making those right moves. They're making those right decisions on the breakdowns, the healing breakdowns, and in the buffs and in the cast tabs and stuff like that. But then they're coming up short where they shouldn't be. And the big area where that is their positioning. And you see it kind of as a gradual progression through Nighthold, where, there's some very basic things. If you look at a fight like Scorpion, for example, what is your positioning? Well, your positioning is, oh, there's something that's coming right at you, and you just move out of the way, and then you're fine. It's that unpredictable positioning where you say, I'm ready to move whenever I need to, or I see what I need to hide behind, and I'm going to move there a little bit as I have my free globals, as I'm having, Light of Turret or other abilities that you can cast on the move, depending on what kind of healer that you are, But as you're getting into further and further into the Nighthold, it definitely stands out. You see fights like Elisand or Chromatic Anomaly, where you have to keep your eyes open, your peripherals open for where does the ad spawn, because the ad spawn is going to dictate where your grade goes, or where you have to go or something like that. So you keep an eye out for that one. You'll differentiate between, the one that your little group will go to and the one that your entire raid goes to or something like that. So those things will stand out. And then you start getting into more and more difficult encounters, which are more stressful towards your positioning. And the ones that kind of stand out to me as Botanist, Star Augur, and then Gul'dan. Going into a fight like Botanist is definitely a amazing fight, and it's an amazing fight to heal. I really, really enjoy this fight, and this is probably my most comfortable fight in all of Nighthold. And the secret to that is your positioning. As you are preparing for any of the controlled chaos, which is the purple circles on the ground, okay, well, they're going to gradually be expanding. How am I dealing with them gradually expanding? Well, I don't know exactly where they're going to be spawning from, but I do know that I do have a window in time where I can be casting before I have to run away. And in many cases, it's going to be better for you to take the time, if you're an immobile healer, to cast what you need to be casting to top people off. Then you start taking steps, and then you start stutter stepping, basically. So if you're a Holy Priest, for example, you'll be casting Prayer of Healing. If it's spawning right next to you, the first burst goes off, you're standing at the edge of it. You get your Prayer of Healing off. Then you move a little bit, cast another Prayer of Healing, the next burst goes off, your Prayer of Healing hits right after the burst goes off. You take another step, you cast Prayer of Healing, another burst goes off, your Prayer of Healing hits right as the burst goes off. Things like that are definitely very, very valuable. And of course, if you're able to mix in, any kind of instant casts in between those steps, it becomes even better, because then you're not wasting any globals. You're not wasting any abilities. You're not wasting any time. You're not having any downtime. Things like that are so, so valuable. And they definitely make your life a hell of a lot easier, so that you're never interrupting, the process of you healing. Of course, there's going to be downtime where you'll just be using filler and things like that. And that's understandable. But when that damage is happening, that's where, even if you are an immobile healer, or you're not super comfortable using, your raid frames and walking all over the place at the same time, your positioning is making up for that fact. Your positioning and your planning is reducing any future problems that you have down the road. All right, so that definitely helps out quite a bit. Going into a fight like Augur, well, Augur definitely gets very complicated very quickly with how much of the fel will go out. And you have to really be very conscious of all this fel going out and where you are in relation to where everybody else is. So many, many times, the fel ticks will get all over certain people, and they're on the other side of the room, and you have to be able to reach them very quickly. So planning out your routes, and this is probably one of the most difficult parts with positioning, is planning out your routes and also having the awareness for where everybody else is. It used to be with Voodoo, and with many add-ons in the past, where if somebody was out of range, there'd be an arrow that would show you where you need to be going in order to get to them. Blizzard removed the targeting direction, or they removed the ability for that to happen because of some weak auras from Mythic Archimon. So we're not able to do that anymore. That puts more of the pressure on us to be saying, okay, I know where they are positioned at. I have that wherewithal to say, all right, I know I need to move in this direction, or I know this patch is going to be completely covered in garbage, so I'm going to be moving, you know, further north or further in this direction where it's free. And planning out your movements ahead of time while you're also dropping Fel Flames and casting at the same time. And to do that, of course, is much more difficult, but it definitely puts an inner metronome in your head. So you'll say, okay, I dropped a glob, casting my spell, and then I move out, because the glob is only going to deal damage to you once it actually expands fully, once it meets that maximum swollenness, right? And once you are aware of the positioning for that, and again, you know, if you're progressing on a fight like Star Augur, you will have time to feel that out and say, oh, okay, I have this much room, I have this much time before I have to move again. You know, something where, my Holy Priest perspective, drop your glob, cast Flash Heal, step. Drop your glob, cast Flash Heal, step. Over and over and over again. And as long as you're getting some kind of healing off, you know, you're having a lot of value, and you're causing, you know, a great deal of extra healing, rather than you know, just sitting there and dropping the globs off while everyone else is taking all kinds of damage, all kinds of stuff is going on in the group, you know. And it's definitely something that takes practice, it definitely takes time, but these are the things that you want to definitely identify now, because in 2 weeks' time we'll be going into Tomb of Sargeras. And Tomb of Sargeras, you know, the faster that you are keeping these things in mind, the faster you're watching out for these mechanics that you'll be able to kind of conquer, the easier these fights will all be for you, and the easier it'll be to kind of conquer them. Going into Mythic Gul'dan, for example, you know, there is the ping pong strat where you're running from one side to the other, and even on Heroic, most guilds are doing this, where you go to one side, then you go to the other side. You know, being able to set up Warlock portals, or being able to be recognizing when the damage is going to be happening, and being able to run ahead accordingly, so that, for example, if you have an eyeball which is coming out during a storm, everybody's running and everybody's taking damage. But if you positioned yourself near the back of the group, you're able to only have to run a short distance. You're able to stop, plant your feet, and start casting on everybody as everybody else is running towards you, and as the damage is still going out. You know, that proper planning leads to exceptional performance, and it'll just make your life a hell of a lot easier as a healer. You know, you're able to bypass a lot of these very frustrating and very difficult scenarios if you and the rest of your healers are positioning yourselves properly, so you don't have to worry about those things. You know, yes, there is a concern with some healers being way less mobile than others, but it's not something that is debilitating. You know, it's not something that's impossible for you to do. It's something that is a challenge, and that's one thing where, you know, immobile healers in general have to have that challenge and have to be able to prepare properly for it. You know, something where, you know, Divine Hymn is a channel ability. So is it useless? Absolutely not. You just have to position yourself properly. You have to account for where in a fight is it best for you to use your Divine Hymn, because there's definitely going to be parts of the fight where you're moving and taking lots of damage, but if you're able to find windows in time where you're able to not move at all and still cast your hymn and everything like that, then it's irrelevant if you can move, if you can't move or not, because you have, you know, a window of time where you're not delaying your hymn much more than anybody else is. You know, everyone's getting 2 casts of their raid cooldowns off, and you're able to not move for it, and you're able to even get a priority to use your cooldown in this section rather than in some other section, because it's the one that most favors you, you know. And if it favors you, and if it's one that you're always going to be able to get off, then it favors the entire healing team. You know, those are definitely the things to keep in mind. Positioning is definitely something that, you know, you have to look at it on a fight-by-fight basis, and I definitely do cover them in the Mythic Nighthold boss guides, the boss-specific videos, which you can find in the playlist, link below. And it will kind of continue, and I'll definitely be continuing talking about them as we're starting to go into Tomb of Sargeras. So, hope you guys like the quick rundown. Hopefully it gave you some extra tips and things like that as you're going into the last weeks of Mythic Nighthold. Like I said, I'll definitely be covering them as we go into Tomb of Sargeras. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.